mobile. Smarty.co.uk.
This is a message from the government about the emergency measures to support the economy during the period of disruption caused by the coronavirus. To help you, your business, and your workers affected, you can apply for cash grants, business rate holidays, statutory sick pay relief packages, as well as the coronavirus job retention and self-employment income support schemes. For information, go to gov.uk/business-support now.
At George, we know there's nothing better than catching up with your mates. That's why we've invited Fern McCann over for a cuppa and a chat with some of her besties. Because staying in is the new going out, right? Join us and Fern over on our Instagram TV at Georgia Asda to get all the latest gossip, giggles and fashion tips. Sunday at 6 p.m.
Where will 2020 take you? Somewhere where people care. About each other. About our planet. About creating a better world for everyone. And becoming the best versions of yourselves. Join a community of like-minded individuals at the University of Winchester. Make sure to accept your offer by the UCAS deadline and visit our website to find out more. See the bigger picture. Be the difference. Go to winchester.ac.uk.
Whoa, just got a Moonpig reminder that it's your birthday Saturday.
Yeah, I set that up.
Oh, do you know what? I forget one time. Okay, I'm in the app.
Oh, the romantic card section.
I'm full of surprises. Now, what rhymes with babe?
How about just uploading a nice pic? No, wait, I'm not ready.
Hey, I love you from every angle. Now for the gifts. Oh, and flowers.
Heartfelt can happen anywhere with moonpig.com. Download the app now.
Want to relive the glory of college football?
Balls over a man, into the end zone.
Come explore TuneIn's classic game replay collection to hear ESPN's complete coverage of the 2019 New Year's 6 bowl games. Don't miss your chance to re-experience the Rose Bowl, the 2020 National Championship, featuring Clemson and LSU.
There are going to be 2 champions on the field tomorrow night. There's going to be 1 team hold up the trophy.
10, close to the 5, touchdown! Search Classic Game Replays to listen for free.
Stay on top of everything happening in the pro wrestling universe with the Body Slamming podcasts on TuneIn. For passionate recaps of the most recent SmackDown to a pro wrestler's perspective on life and culture at large, search sports and scroll down to the world of wrestling to listen.
24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, and on QuickTake by Bloomberg. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
Good morning from London. I'm Sandra Kilhoff with this Bloomberg Business Flash, and we are seeing European stock markets firmly in the green this morning. The Stock 600 up 1.2%, the FTSE and the DAX gaining 1.3%, and US futures also pointing to a slightly higher open. It comes on the back of a fairly thin trading day in Asia, where the Hang Seng currently is down 0.2%. It was a bit mixed following some data out of China in which factory output came in better than expected in April, but retail sales did slump. We also heard from the PBOC, which has injected a bit of liquidity into the markets. But like I said, a bit of a mixed reaction when it comes to equity markets. In some of the stock specifics today, I am keeping an eye on Richemont. It's a bit lower in Switzerland this morning, down 1.7% after it said that its full year operating profit would come in 22% lower than last year's number. On the other hand, BT surging 7% here in London after it said it's in talks to sell its stake in Openreach. That's according to an FT report. Now, over in the currency markets, we are seeing the Bloomberg Dollar Spot Index unchanged. The yen slightly bid at 107.1 against the greenback. Sterling a bit weaker, down 0.2% at 122. Perhaps because Brexit talks are heading to the brink. Fresh disagreements between the EU and the UK. We are due to hear from Michel Barnier later today. Meanwhile, the euro holding at 108 ahead of the German GBP number due out here at 9 o'clock. 10-year Treasury yields are fairly steady this morning at 61 basis points. 10-year bond yields also unchanged at negative 54. 10-year gilt yields holding at 20 basis points. Finally, oil moving higher after Saudi Arabia slashed sales to key buyers. The IEA also saying the market is showing signs of improving. So WTI up almost 4% now at $28 a barrel. That's a Bloomberg Business Flash. Now here's Leanne Garrins with more on what's going on around the world.
Sandra, thank you very much. Let's start with some breaking news this half an hour. Coronavirus cases in Tokyo dropped to single digits for the first time since the 22nd of March. That's according to NTV. This comes as Tokyo is drawing up plans to reopen the economy, but the capital for now remains under a state of emergency. More on that as we get it. Germany has recorded a steep drop in the number of new coronavirus cases. The daily death toll fell to the lowest in 4 days, and the infection rate also declined. Earlier this week, Germany said it was planning to reopen borders, a critical step in re-establishing the free flow of people across Europe. However, Chancellor Angela Merkel's government says land boundaries will only return to normal if the spread of the virus remains under control. And finally, some pub landlords are smiling again in Sydney. That's as restaurants, cafes and shops can now open in Australia's most populous state, New South Wales. But strict social distancing rules do remain in place. Global news 24 hours a day on air and on Quick Take by Bloomberg, powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. I'm Leanne Gerrans. This is Bloomberg Naira.
Leanne, thank you so much. I have to say, it's not that appealing to me to go to a pub where you have to be socially distanced and potentially also book a space to have a beer. But let's get to airline stocks now. They've tumbled this week after the International Air Transport Association warned that demand for flights won't recover to last year's levels until 2023 at the earliest. So what does that forecast mean for airlines already struggling with the lockdown impact? In Africa, the biggest airline on the continent, Ethiopian Airlines, is seen losing $300 million in sales, risking 327,000 jobs. For more, we're delighted to be joined by Ethiopian Airlines CEO Tewolde Gebramariam. Tewolde, thank you so much for joining us on the show. Really appreciate your time. You've just been speaking to our colleagues in TV where you said that African airlines are to lose $6 billion in revenue, and at the same time that African governments are less able to bail out airlines. So give us a sense of what the industry could look like after the virus. Will there be fewer airlines, fewer routes, more highly priced tickets, for example?
Thank you very much for having me in your program. Yes, the African airlines are the hardest hit in this unprecedented global crisis. And the other side is also African governments are not in a position or they may not have the resources to bail out their airlines, mainly because weaker economies, and also now that is severely affected by price going down for commodity exporters and particularly oil. So yeah, we will see that fewer airlines, we will see some casualties and unfortunate casualties in the industry in Africa. And you are right, fewer airlines and fewer routes. But as you also know that the market share of African airlines as compared to non-African airlines is already low, so around 20%. 80% of the traffic between Africa and the rest of the world is carried by non-African airlines. So I would expect that the non-African airlines will increase their activity in Africa. So they will be flying more and more flights because they will find it attractive. But definitely from African Airlines point, we will see fewer airlines, fewer routes.
Tewolde, let me just pick up on some thoughts there about the problems that there are. I mean, you've talked about governments finding it very hard to bail out the airlines. What about banks generally? Do you see banks being willing to help?
The commercial banks, globally, we have seen some kind of reluctance to lend money to airlines. But the good hope here in Africa is the African Development Bank has allocated around $10 billion for the African aviation. But we have not yet seen how that is going to be dispersed, how that is going to be managed, to which airline, how. Will they ask some collateral or guarantee, government guarantees? We will see. But that is a very good hope for African airlines.
What, though, if many airlines are left to go into bankruptcy, Tewolde? What would be the impact, for example, on tourism and other parts of the economy on the continent?
I think the impact will be on the downside. The inter-Africa connectivity will be much lower, which is already low, or it is not easy and convenient to travel for people to travel from one point to another point within the continent. That is going to be further affected, and that is very, very unfortunate because it will be a hindrance to trade and movement of people within the continent. But on the other hand, I don't think there will be a big impact on tourism because tourists are coming to Africa from Europe, America, and Asia, China, and so on. So they will continue to come because non-African carriers will increase their flights to Africa. That is my expectation.
Tewolde, can I just ask you specifically? Can I ask you specifically, Tewolde, about Ethiopia itself, though, because you're a country that has this issue. Obviously, tourism is a big thing for you, but also exporting your own horticulture products. How's that going to affect Ethiopia?
Surprisingly, on the export of horticultural products, we are doing very well because, Ethiopian Airlines has invested enough in cargo capacity, in fleet and infrastructure. The cargo terminal here in Addis, the largest in Africa, and the largest cargo fleet in Africa again. We have 10 777 freighters. As you know, the 777 freighters are the best cargo machines in the world today. So we have 10 of them carrying about 100 tons each, and 2 737 freighters. So we are exporting, as we speak, 2 flights a day to Belgium, full of flowers and fruits and vegetables. So this sector is doing very well. But on the other hand, as you said, tourism has really collapsed. So, since Ethiopian Airlines has made a very good shift, it has shown good agility and flexibility in moving its resources to the cargo business, and we are doing very well in cargo, and we'll manage the crisis, and then when the recovery comes, we'll be in a very good position to restart the tourism sector in Ethiopia and the rest of Africa.
Just briefly, sir, are you considering alternatives to the 737 MAX?
That is really still a thorny issue because, before the accident, the airplane was a very good airplane. One of the most popular airplanes. And now after the accident, the brand seems to be damaged, but Boeing is fixing the problems. And we don't know how much this will be repaired and the brand comes back to its original popularity. And we will see because not much of information is coming out of Boeing as to when the airplane will fly back, and what it looks like, and right.
We're going to have to leave it there. We're afraid we're running out of time. Thank you so much for being with us. Ethiopian Airlines CEO Tewolde Gebre-Mariam there, giving us a sense of how his industry and indeed his company is being affected by the current crisis. This is Bloomberg.
If you're having...
Did somebody say just me? Get delivery like a G. See, hungry dogs gotta eat. I get mines every day, every week. Chicken wings to the crib, I'm sitting in. Burger in the low. Hope they put the pickle in. Wonton on a catamaran. Oodles and noodles, thank you, my man. Justeat.
Somebody say just eat.
This is a message from the government about the emergency measures to support the economy during the period of disruption caused by the coronavirus. To help you, your business, and your workers affected, you can apply for cash grants, business rate holidays, statutory sick pay relief packages, as well as the coronavirus job retention and self-employment income support schemes. For information, go to gov.uk/business-support.
For more than 20 years, Asda supported our communities. We've raised over £23 million for Fair Share and the Trussell Trust. And recently, we've donated supplies to frontline NHS workers and carers. We've always been proud to serve those around us. Visit asda.com/creating change for better. Asda, we're all in this together.
Where will 2020 take you? Somewhere where people care. About each other. About our planet. About creating a better world for everyone. And becoming the best versions of yourselves. Join a community of like-minded individuals at the University of Winchester. Make sure to accept your offer by the UCAS deadline and visit our website to find out more. See the bigger picture. Be the difference. Go to winchester.ac.uk.
24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, on the Bloomberg Business app, and on Quick Take by Bloomberg. This is Bloomberg Radio.
This is Bloomberg Daybreak Europe.
The idea is to really hold the economy in suspended animation until we get control of this virus.
We are very much in a picture of monetary dominance.
We will get slower growth. I mean, let's not get confused about that.
We are in a national crisis. I think it is for all parties to pull together.
The euro area is facing an economic contraction of a magnitude and speed that are unprecedented in peacetime.
Bloomberg Daybreak Europe on Bloomberg Radio.
Good morning from the Bloomberg Bureau in Berlin. I'm Matt Miller. You are listening to Daybreak Europe on London DAB Digital Radio. It is Friday. Thank God it's Friday. Not that we have anything to look forward to on the weekends. You know, normally I would go to restaurants, maybe stop by a bar. I would be excited to watch the MotoGP race. None of that. But I still like the weekends. I still appreciate a little bit of time off. In terms of the equity indexes, we do see gains today, and pretty decent gains, but really not enough to offset the drops we saw yesterday. The FTSE closed down 2.75% last night. So even the 1% plus gains that we're seeing today aren't enough to get back half of what you lost yesterday, or to get us back to gains for the week. We're down for the week in terms of equity indexes. In terms of other assets, let me give you some price action here. No change on the 10-year yield, 0.6185%, and bunds are negative 54 basis points, also not doing much at all. Neither are gilts at 0.203, so 20 basis points for gilts right now. In terms of gold, you see a little bit of action, gains to 1736.91 a troy ounce. Oil, you see some action, gains on Brent crude to 32.27 a barrel. And in terms of Brent crude, in terms of NYMEX crude, you see gains of $1 basically to 28.56 a barrel. In currencies right now, the yen's gaining a little bit against the greenback at 107.088. The euro is up to 108.16, and the pound right now is down a little to 122.17, but really not a lot of action outside of equity indexes. You do see 1.33% gains on the FTSE. You see 1.5% gains on the DAX, and just over 1% on the CAC 40 in Paris. And I believe we have German GDP out as well. Let me take a look at my eco screen. Indeed, I see German non-seasonally adjusted GDP year over year, a drop of 1.9%. The WDA number, a drop of 2.3%, and the GDP seasonally adjusted quarter over quarter number, a drop of 2.2%. We have Carolyn Look, our European economics reporter out of Frankfurt, joining us right now to help break down the data. And Carolyn, I have to confess, I initially, when I first looked at this eco screen this morning, I was thinking, WDA, NSA, QOQ, YOY. What do we care about?
Hi, Matt. Yeah, so the number that we care about is the seasonally adjusted quarter-over-quarter number. So that's the 2.2% drop that you highlighted, which is actually the worst reading we've seen in Germany since the first quarter of 2009, so in the midst of the global financial crisis. And if you look into the statement by the economy ministry, they say that in the second quarter we might actually see output getting even worse, but that it might also mark the period in which we see the beginning of a recovery, depending on how the measures implemented by the government seep into the economy, and also depending on how the virus evolves.
And so far, I mean, we're looking at basically 1.2 trillion euros worth of either grants or loan guarantees from the German government. I know that yesterday Olaf Scholz was talking about the tax revenue shortfall, and it seems like a big number. I think it's 98.6 billion euros, $106 billion. But BI, the analysts that we have at Bloomberg Intelligence, are saying, look, Germany had a decent amount of money. They were running surpluses. We only had 60% debt to GDP. Germany can get through this with, I think, 250 billion euros worth of borrowing this year.
Yeah, so I mean, like you said, there have been a number of stimulus measures already announced. There is a plan that's due to be announced in early June, and certainly the tax revenue shortfall will put pressure on the government to borrow more heavily. But what you have to keep in mind is that growth in Germany was already in trouble last year, right? Like in the quarter before this, we saw 0% growth. Annual growth in Germany was the weakest in 6 years in 2019. So a lot of economists have been arguing that Germany should have been investing more in the economy long before this crisis happened. So it's really going to depend on what they announce in June, and how the situation evolves to see if Germany can really get out of this slump in the long term.
All right, I want to bring in, Carolyn, Alan Higgins. He's the Chief Investment Officer at Coutts & Co. And, Alan, to me, the interesting thing, this whole pandemic has been to see countries like Germany. They have the firepower. They have the wherewithal to, get themselves out of this crisis because they were being fiscally responsible, as Germans tend to be, beforehand, even if, as Carolyn points out, there was already a weakening of the economy. Countries like Italy, countries like Spain, they're in a lot more trouble, and this kind of highlights the divisions between the North and South. You've previously said if there isn't a Corona bond, if there isn't shared debt, we could see a breakup of the European Union. How bad does it look to you?
I mean, it looks bad, and I should say, look, we haven't always been, if you like, Eurosceptics, and especially calling in from the UK. People may think that, and in fact, some of you may remember in 11-12, we were adamant that Greece was not going to leave the euro, and in fact, from a market perspective, we were buyers of certainly Italy, Spain, Portugal. And why were we adamant that Greece was not going to leave the euro? Well, one simple point was simply the people of Greece supported the euro. They wanted to be in the euro. And so therefore Syriza, if we go back to that era, Syriza's power was much less than implied. In contrast, as we know in Italy, it's a bit like Brexit. It's a 50-50 situation on the popularity of the euro. And our feeling is it's a bit like what Macron wrote about a couple of weeks ago, Emmanuel Macron. If, in particular, Germany and the Netherlands don't relent, then the Italian people in particular will say, well, what's in it for me? Slow growth for 20 years, higher unemployment, and when we desperately needed some kind of help, and not ESM-orientated borrowing, what's in it for me? So, I think it's a very, very dangerous time. I'd like to think that Germany and the Netherlands in particular, because those are the countries that seem to be stopping this whole thing the most will relent, and there'll be some kind of grant. I think Corona bonds will be tough, but some kind of grant, money essentially. But if they don't, it's very, very dangerous indeed for the EU. And of course, if Italy leaves, the whole thing breaks down.
You know, I thought about Brexit when I heard Ursula von der Leyen proclaim the supremacy of the European Court of Justice over the German Constitutional Court in Karlsruhe. I thought, man, there's a lot of Europeans right now thinking, oh, I get it now. Carolyn, I always see you at the ECB or at the Bundesbank. What's your take on this debate, on this on this conflict and how it gets resolved?
I mean, ECB policymakers have been speaking a lot in the last few days, and they've kind of been repeating the same line, essentially, just, really making it clear that they are going to be undeterred, that they're determined to, do everything that they can to still focus on their mandate. And they've been repeating the line that they are subject to the jurisdiction of the European Court. So that it suggests that, they see an issue in kind of directly engaging with this, but it does seem like something has to be done, whether it's, on the side of the German government working together with the Bundesbank to, work something out, or whether it's, something more informal where, the ECB constantly explains its decisions, right? I mean, take a look at the ECB's website. There's so many research papers on the impact of negative interest rates or the impact of asset purchases, and it's really just a matter of kind of putting this together in a way that is digestible. But we'll have to see what they come up with as a solution that doesn't undermine their independence. It
is fascinating to watch. Alan, let me just finish with you. Got 30 seconds left. I want to ask your conviction trade. Hearing a lot about high-grade corporate debt. You like that too?
Yeah, I think that's the place to go. I mean, simple mantra, above average risk premiums, and you're backed. Of course, ECB and the bank